Today we're going to be looking at graphing a function. So the first thing we are going to do is make a table with x values and the corresponding y values. So you need to choose whichever x values you want. You need to pick 4 to 5 values that will give you a basic shape of your graph. We normally choose the x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, but sometimes that will vary just based on the graph. So to find our y values, we're going to substitute in the x into the equation and solve for y. So let's look at the first example. Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. So the y values we are going to be using is -1, 0, 1, and 2. Substitute -1 in for x. So 1/2 times -1 minus 1 gives us -1/2. We have to write this as a coordinate point, so we take our x, -1, and then we have our y of -1/2. Then let's do 0. Substitute 0 in. 0 times 1/2 minus 1 is -1. So we get the point 0, -1. Do the same thing with 1. Substitute it in. 1/2 times 1 minus 1 is -1/2. We get 1, -1/2. And then the last one is 2. Substitute 2 in for x. 1/2 times 2 minus 1 is 0. So we have the point 2, 0. Now let's graph it. -1 in the x, and then -1.5 to go below in the middle. Then we have 0, -1, 1, and then 1/2, and then 2, 0. So this is going to make a straight line. You need to be using a ruler to connect. And make sure your points are visible. So if you do not have a ruler, you can use a side of a book, a side of a ruler, your phone actually, if you line it up, can make it too. So let's go on. Oh, one more thing. This is a line, so it goes from the edge to your graph to the edge of your graph. And then you need to put your arrows because the line continues on. Those are key things that you must do every single time. Okay, let's look at this next one. So this equation, we have y equals 5x minus 2. We do not have any y values here. We do not have any x values. So we need to choose x values. Let's do our normal one. So -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So let's substitute it in and solve. So we have 5 times -2 minus 2. And that gives us -12. So we have the coordinate x, y. So we have -2, -12. Then 1, -1. Substitute it in, and you get -7. We get the point -1, -7. Substitute 0 in. When we substitute 0 in, we get -2. And we have the point 0, -2. And then we're going to substitute 1 in. And we get 3. So we get the point 13. And lastly, we're going to substitute 2 in. And we get 8. So we get 2, 8. It's very important to do the 5 points to get the shape of our graph. So let's graph it. The first one we have -2, -12, which is off the graph. So we do not need to worry about that one right now. We can probably get the rest of them onto the sheet. Then we have -1, -7, 0, -2, 1, 3, and 2, 8. There we go. And I just have to continue it. And then arrows on the end. Okay, let's go on to the next problem. Look at 2 here. We have y equals -x plus 3. Let's do the same x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Substitute it in. We have negative x, so it's negative whatever x is, which is -2. So make sure you put that in parentheses. And we are adding 3. Don't forget, a negative and negative make a positive. So we're going to do 2 plus 3, and that gives us our 5. So we have the point -2, 5. And here we're just going to write the x and y point. Do the same thing. Negative, whatever x is, so -1 plus 3. Negative, negative make a positive, and we get 4. So we get -1, 4. 0, negative, 0 plus 3. That gives us 3. So we get 0, 3. 1, -1 plus 3 gives us 4. No, it does not give us 4. -1 plus 3 is 2. So we get 1, 2. And lastly, we have -2 plus 3. And that is 1. So we get 2, 1. Now let's graph it. -2, 5. Then we have -1, 4. 0, 3. 1, 2. And then 2, 1. So we have our 5 points. Connect the points to make, let's make a line. And then put arrows on the end. Remember, edge to edge. Okay. So for number 3, we have y equals 1/4 x. So here we're going to use multiples and factors of our denominator of 4. So we're going to use -8, -4, 0, +4, and +8. This way, it ends up being nicer numbers to work with for our graph. So we have y equals 1/4 times our -8. So 1/4 of -8, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then it's negative. So we have the point -8, -2. Then we have -4. So 1/4 of 4, -4 is -1. So at the point -4, -1. 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So at the point 0, 0. And then we have 1/4 of 4. We get 1. So 4, 1. And lastly, we have 1/4 of 8, and we get 2. So we have the point 8, 2. So now graph it. -8, -2, -4, -1, 0, 0. Then we have 4, 1, and 8, 2. Let's connect it. Make sure you go from edge to edge, the straight edge, and put arrows on the end. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing, but now we have a little word problem. So the cost D in dollars for a parking pass depends on the number of whole weeks W you purchase. So this is going to be represented by the function rule of D equals 25W. So W is going to be what X would be, and instead of Y equals, we're going to have a D equals, and our point W, D. So let's graph this. So our X, which is our W, is dealing with weeks. So let's label our graph weeks and dollars. And weeks, we're going to go in increments of 1. And dollars, we're going to go in increments of 25. Okay, so weeks, we are going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and substitute it in. So 25 times 1 gives us 25. So we have the point 125. If we substitute 2 in, we get 50. So 250. If we substitute 3 in, we get 75. We're talking about money. So for 3 weeks, there's $75. 4 weeks, 100. And 5 weeks is 125. So now let's graph this. So 1 week, let's change the color. 1 was 25, 2 was 50, 75, 100, and 125. So we can graph this, and it continues on. Oops. Let's try that again. It continues on. Yeah, it keeps moving on me. Let's try this again. And don't forget to put arrows on the end, because this continues on, so you could find out If this was for one full year, you would do 52 for the weeks and find the dollar amount there. And then if you did 0 weeks, it would have 0 amount of dollars. So let's continue on. So Megan buys eggs at the supermarket for $1.75 per carton. We need to graph this. So what would be the equation here? So the equation would be 175 per egg, which we can call x. So we need to figure out what this is going to be. So we have our x, which is our carton, and our y is going to be our dollar amount. So if we buy 1 carton, or 2, 3 of them, 4 of them, or 5 of them, we can get a nice representation of our graph. So substitute in 1.75 times 1 will give us $1.75 for that 1 carton. If we buy 2 cartons, that would be $3.50. If we buy 3 cartons, that would be $5.25. If we buy 4 cartons, that would be $7. And lastly, 5 cartons for our points will give us $8.75. So graph it. Let's have our cartons still be our normal increments. And we can go up normal too for our dollars. It won't be exact for the graph, but it will give us a nice shape of what it should be. So $1.75 for 1. So that's going to be a little more. 2 would be $3.50, right in the middle. 3 will be $5.25. 4 would be $7. 5 is $8.25. Now let's draw the line. And then don't forget your arrows on the end. There won't be any errors here because you can't have negative. So there is our graph. There is one more problem we're going to look at. So we have the function of cost, or of C equals 12.5h plus 30. And that represents the total cost of renting a truck for h hours. H. So this is H, this is C. So what is a reasonable graph for the function given the daily limit is 12 hours? So your x's can't go more than 12. So everything after that's going to be the same amount. So here we can do 1 hour, 3, 5. We could do 7, or I'm going to skip to 9 and 12 to get a nice graph. When we substitute it in for our hours, what are we going to get? So we have 12.5 times 1 plus 30. That is $42.50. Then if we substitute 3 in, we get a total of $67.50. If we substitute 5 hours in, we get a total of $92.50. If we substitute 9 in, we get a total of $142.50. And lastly, our max of the day is 12. So if we substitute 12 hours in, we get a total of $180. So running the truck, the most you will pay is $180. So let's graph this and see what it would look like. So our hours and our cost. Let's see. Hours, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that won't work. So we can do our 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 12. Not 12, 11, 13. And so counting by odds. Going up, let's see. Let's do by 25. Okay, and now let's graph it. So for 1 hour is $42. This can be about here. And then 3 was 67. 5 was about 90. And then 7, don't forget 7 we don't do, and we go to 9, and that's 142. And then 12 would be in between, and that's at 180. So, connect it. And draw your line. So, that is everything on graphing a function. So please reach out if you have any questions.